Okay, 2.65. Sasade sarva dukkhanam hanirasyopadayate prasanna chetaso yashu buddhi paryavatishtate. So last verse, 2.64, it says, person free from attachment and aversion and able to control his senses through regulative principles of freedom can obtain the complete mercy of the Lord. So this verse is saying, for one thus satisfied in Krishna consciousness, the threefold miseries of material existence exist no longer. In such satisfied consciousness, one's intelligence is soon well established. This doesn't have a purport. We will not be discussing this in detail. But just to understand what this threefold miseries exist no longer, it doesn't mean that, of course, at some point of time, the threefold miseries also come to an end. That is, prarabdha ends, prarabdha karma ends. But even up to reaching that point, who are in this Brahmabhuta stage, they don't experience misery like we do. Actually, it is said that one who is in the mode of goodness, so based on the modes we are in, the suffering that we experience, the intensity decreases, right? Like for example, in mode of goodness, it is the amount of suffering that one experiences, or the feeling of suffering is very less. Then it increases when one is in Rajoguna, and it further increases when one is in Tamoguna. So when one comes to this Brahmabhuta, which means that they've crossed Sattva-guna, so practically they don't really associate with the miseries because they know they're the spirit soul, the Brahman, and they engage completely in the service of the Lord. So their intelligence is also well established only in trying to serve the Lord and building their consciousness in that direction and not getting distracted in material consciousness. So this is Brahmabhuta. Prabhupada has talked about this in other purpose. We can understand. Okay, 2.66. Nasti buddhira yuktasya na cha yuktasya bhavana na cha bhavayata shantira shantasya kutasukam. One who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? Okay, so what is transcendental intelligence? Transcendental intelligence, you can also call this Buddhi Yoga, using Buddhi to serve the Lord, right? That is transcendental intelligence. Otherwise, our intelligence is normally engaged in material things. So it is material intelligence. So unless one is connected with Supreme, that means that all his thought process, all his thinking, all his intelligence is connected with saying, how do I serve the Lord? So if one is not connected in that way, then that person cannot have transcendental intelligence, which means that he will have material intelligence. And one who has material intelligence cannot have a steady mind, because the mind is agitated and thrown here, there, everywhere, and it's speculating, concocting things, worrying about the concocted things, etc., etc. And without a steady mind or transcendental intelligence, how can there be peace? And if there is no peace, how can there be happiness? Unless one is in Krishna consciousness, there is no possibility of peace. So it is confirmed in the 5th chapter that when one understands that Krishna is the only enjoyer, Bhaktaram Ignatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suradam Sarvabhutanam Gnatva Mam Shanti Nruchati. When one understands that Krishna is the only enjoyer of all good results of sacrifice and penance, that he is the proprietor of all universal manifestations, and that he is the real friend of all living entities, then only can one have real peace. Okay, so this is very important. Actually, I've seen as devotees, we all want happiness, but we all want happiness in our material life also. We all want happiness in our family life. And we keep thinking, oh, I'm living such, like life of a devotee, but why can't I get happiness in my material life? Why can't I have peace of mind? Why can't I peacefully just practice Krishna consciousness? Isn't it? I mean, these are things that all of us have on our mind. Saying, why can't things be smooth? Right? If everything is so smooth, then, we can practice bhakti nicely. So this thought coming to the mind is a reflection of lack of faith in Krishna. I used to think about this for, many years when I had a lot of health problems that I was dealing with. And I used to think like, oh, so many people, so many devotees are nice, so healthy, and they can do such nice service. And I was always like, in some way envious, like, oh, they can do, I can't do. Then I realized that actually it is the Lord's mercy that whatever He gives us, and when we are talking about these topics, we can only talk about this only when we are surrendered to Krishna. And what does surrender mean? Please read 18 chapter 66 verse, and that should be like a mantra, like a, like Trinadapi Sunichena. This mantra should be around our neck all the time. Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam rakshishati iti vishwaso gopritya varnam tata atmanikshepa karpanya shadvida sharanagati. So unless one is fully surrendered, if one is fully surrendered to Krishna, or in the process with full desire to surrender fully to Krishna, then Krishna will, whatever happens in the life of such a devotee is to ensure that the devotee makes tremendous progress, because the devotee is sincere and wants to make progress and wants to achieve the goal of Krishna Prema. Then Krishna, who is in control of the devotee's life and his senses, because he's anyway Rishikesha, he will ensure that the devotee goes through situations which are most conducive. Please understand this, most conducive for his or her progress in Krishna consciousness. It cannot be anything else. Anything else will not replace that situation, will not be equivalent to help the devotee make progress. So we should not expect, I mean, if we are expecting anything good to happen materially, and thereby thinking that, that's going to help us progress in bhakti, that's a little bit of an illusion. Because we really don't know what situation is going to help us progress and what situation is going to drag us away. And suppose everything is nice, and maybe we'll say, okay, maybe, oh, everything is nice, now maybe let me go eat some non-prasadam, or let me go out. So many people, I know so many devotees who go on holidays. It's like, oh, holidays, okay. It said that, one who is really Krishna consciousness says, no, there's nothing like entertainment. Nothing like entertainment. There's nothing like taking a break from Krishna consciousness. So there's nothing like a holiday for a devotee, right? So for us, holiday means maybe just change in scene. Like we will go to the dham and we will continue to our sadhana. Maybe we will do more sadhana. Right. So anyway, so point I was making is that, we should not expect material happiness. We should not link material happiness with this, right? When here Krishna is talking about happiness, this, of course, I mean, at some point of time when our prarabdha is over, etc., when we become so fixed, we come to Nishtha, Sakti and higher stages, then, maybe we can actually, we will actually experience happiness, because we will be satisfied with whatever is there around us, of course. I mean, even Brahmabhuta stage is that. And as we go higher, because attachment to Krishna increases. See, in Brahmabhuta stage, it is not necessary that attachment to Krishna is there, but detachment from material things happen. But when attachment to Krishna increases, then we will go beyond Brahman happiness, because this is Brahman happiness, right? Brahmananda. But we'll go beyond Brahmananda, which is just cessation of material miseries. We will go to real happiness, right? Paramananda, transcendental happiness. But there is, and when we experience transcendental happiness, of course, we might also experience material happiness, and maybe we don't, right? As in, it is not connected at all. We should understand this. Therefore, if one is not in Krishna consciousness, there cannot be a final goal for the mind. And this is very, very important, because every day we get up and we think, okay, what is it that I'm going to achieve? If we don't think about this, then we will not make progress. And devotees who work in corporate, etc., we all have had, sense of what it is to have milestones, work towards it. Absolutely, we need to be like that in our spiritual life also. We should have a clear goal. Of course, our final goal is clear, but then we set up milestones. It's not like, oh, okay, it's just going on. It's just going on. How is bhakti? Oh, it's going on, Prabhu. What does going on mean? Going where? Is it going somewhere, or is it just stagnant, or is it going down? Right? So we should not get distracted by our material life. Disturbance is due to want of an ultimate goal. And when one is certain that Krishna is the enjoyer, proprietor, and friend of everyone and everything, then one can, with a steady mind, bring about peace. Because then we don't have to worry about material things, because Krishna is the proprietor. He's our friend. He will take care. Whatever he does is for my good. So peace. Therefore, one who is engaged without a relationship with Krishna is certainly always in distress. This is so scary, actually, You can't really think about this. Not being under the shelter of Krishna in this miserable material world is just unthinkable. Hey, I mean, something that's, and this has to, like awaken compassion in our heart, saying, oh my God, so many people are so blindly living without coming to the shelter of Krishna. How can we give them this knowledge? How can we help them to come? Because we find solace under the lotus feet of Krishna. Why shouldn't that be experienced by others as well, who are so suffering so miserably without like any sense of what is going on around us, right? Um, so we have to. I mean, these kind of statements, we should feel compassionate for others, and we should preach. And we should understand. Actually, we preach through our situations. And the tougher our situation, the more stronger our preaching will be, because we have so much more faith in Krishna. And when we talk with that faith, then it obviously has an impact on people. And when they try to understand our own life, and they understand, oh, this person, in spite of so much of difficulty, is doing bhakti, right? Then they'll be even more impressed. And we're not, I mean, it's not like we want to impress. Yes, we can impress somebody if we can bring them to Krishna consciousness, right? But not from La Puja Pratishtha perspective. But yes, I mean, in difficulty, if we are doing bhakti nicely, then it will have an impact on others, which is good, because that will bring people to Krishna consciousness, right? But one who is not sheltered, however much he may make a show of peace and spiritual advancement in life, no use. Krishna consciousness is a self-manifested peaceful condition. It can be achieved only in relationship with Krishna. Self-manifested, because that is the reason why Krishna in Bhagavad Gita talks about his opulences, so that we understand that, oh, he is omnipotent, right? He is so powerful. Everything is under his control. So I don't have to worry. I just have to become his servant. That's all. Rest he will take care, because he is the perfect master. I might not be a perfect servant, but he's a perfect master. And if I'm trying to sincerely become a perfect servant, then he will take care of me, guide me, nourish me, everything, right? Because he's so merciful. Okay. Anybody has any questions? You can put on chat if you have. If you can't speak, you can put on chat. If you can speak, you can please speak. There are no doubts. I can proceed further. Okay. 2.67. Indriyana.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Sorry, you're mentioning about health problems and other challenges. So when health is down, then it not only appears that we can't make progress. Really, it is like difficult to make progress when health is down. Is it that once devotee recovers from that situation, he will make more progress?
No.
During that time.
During that time. When the person is actually, when person is in doldrums, that is when he makes progress. I mean, and when we don't give up, we should not give up. That is when we make progress. Right? When we are in difficult situation, I mean, it might not be like, okay, right there and then on those days like that, right? I mean, see, the consciousness builds. I mean, okay, what is this difficult situation? Difficult situation is just telling us, giving us an experience of the real world around us. Because otherwise we are in illusion. We just think that, oh, okay, this is fine. Everything is going fine. We don't understand. Oh, dukkha, I'm not really. Actually, I'm fine. I'm happy and enjoying stuff, right? So when we are in distress and then our illusion goes off. What is our illusion? I'm in control. Whatever I do, I will get the result. All this is illusion, right? We will get out of all that illusion. Then we will realize, oh, ultimate shelter is Krishna. So when we go through the difficulty, we surrender completely to Krishna because we understand that, Baba, there's nothing else. There's nothing else possible. It's not my endeavor. It's not the doctor's endeavor. It's nothing. It's just simply in the hands of Krishna. Of course, I mean, I'm suffering because of nonsense stuff that I've done in the past, but I also want to serve Krishna. Krishna willing, I can serve him. So when we are in the midst of the difficulty, we will build that consciousness. We'll become, our faith will increase, our dependence on Krishna will increase, our desire to serve will increase, everything will increase.
Yes.
As we start, as that situation, and as we accept that situation and we, our consciousness changes, we will start, making significant progress.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
2.67. Indriyanam charatam yanmano no vidiyate tadasya harati pragnam vayurnavam vivambasi. Sorry, just one thing with respect to the last verse. So one of the things I keep telling devotees saying that when things are fine, don't take it easy. Do nice bhakti, because when things go bad, it really becomes difficult. Right, and then recovering from it takes a long time from experience, right? So if things are going fine for you, please, try to become serious in Krishna consciousness. But of course, it's easier said than done, because only when people experience difficulties will they actually become serious, right? But intelligence, different grades of intelligence, highest grade of intelligence is to hear from others and learn. So if you can do that, then when things are good, it's not the time for us to relax, but for time for us to work hard and make progress. Because then when bad times come, then this sadhana that we would have done will come in handy and will help us out of the situation, right? But if we are casual in good times, then it might become very, very difficult in bad times, right? And of course, then, at those times, we also understand the importance of devotee association, talking to the right kind of devotees who can give us the right kind of perspective, who can help us remain fixed and motivated and so on and so forth. So association becomes very important that time. Okay, 2.67. As a strong wind sweeps away a boat on the water, even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focuses can carry away a man's intelligence. So it's saying one of the roaming senses. So that means that generally senses are roaming here, there, everywhere, which is what happens to us when we are chanting. All our senses want to become most enlivened during our chanting and drag us in all directions. On what do we focus? On mind might focus on one of the roaming senses. That's good enough. It will carry away man's intelligence. Unless all the senses are engaged in the service of the Lord, even one of them engaged in sense gratification can deviate the devotee from the path of transcendental advancement. That is why solution is param drištva nivartate. That is why the solution is savai mana Krishna padara vindayor. So engage all the senses in the service of the Lord so that not one of them will get engaged in sense gratification. Because even if one of them get engaged in sense gratification, then we have trouble. And we might think, okay, this is not so gross, but any sense gratification is dangerous because it is just like, it begins small and then becomes big, and then one will lead to another and you just get stuck. Yeah, as mentioned in the life of Ambarish Maharaj, all of the senses must be engaged in Krishna consciousness. That is the correct technique for controlling the mind. Now see, in yoga means indriya samyama, and mind is the chief of the senses. So this mind, Krishna also talks about this. Mind is your greatest enemy, greatest friend, etc. Right? While all other yoga paths actually focus so much on the mind, right? Like Ashtanga yoga talks about doing pranayama and asanas to control the breathing and thereby control the mind. While those can be useful, but like we've seen Vishwamitra and so many other situations where that kind of my sense control is not all powerful, right? But this example set by Shri Ambarish Maharaj is actually the best form of sense control, while it will work only if we engage our senses in Krishna consciousness. That is the important thing there, right? It is not going to be that we simply hear philosophy and our senses will come under control. No. If we have to, that is why, practical engagement of our senses in Krishna consciousness is important. And when we do that, and when all the senses are separately enlivened, that means that they separately experience the bliss of Krishna consciousness, then they automatically come under control over a period of time. But the problem with this also is, if we stop engaging our senses in the service of Krishna, automatically they will engage in the service of Maya. Which means that under whatever circumstances, senses have to be engaged in the service of Krishna, somehow or the other. Okay. But we have to be very, very, very about this. Even one of the senses not happy in Krishna consciousness is a big danger. Big, big danger. They'll just drag us. Okay. (2.68) तस्माद् यस्य महाबाहो निगृहीतानि सर्वशः इन्द्रियाणि इन्द्रियार्थेभ्यस्तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता. Therefore, O mighty armed, one whose senses are restrained from their objects is certainly of steady intelligence. One can curb the forces of sense gratification only by means of Krishna consciousness or engaging all the senses in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. This is very important. We might be engaged now in the transcendental service of the Lord, but till it becomes loving service, the forces of sense gratification might still be disturbing us. Vacho vegam, manasakrodha vegam, jiva vegam, udarapasta vegam. All these vegas, Upadeshamrita, first verse, will be pulling us. They are our enemies. As enemies are curbed by superior force, the senses can similarly be curbed not by any human endeavor, but only by keeping them engaged in the service of the Lord. So this is not a human endeavor in the sense, it's not that I put effort and I get result. I engage my senses, and by Krishna's mercy, the senses will become controlled. One who has understood this, that only by Krishna consciousness is one really established in intelligence, and that one should practice this art under the guidance of the spiritual master, is called a sadhaka. We say we are doing sadhana bhakti. What does sadhana bhakti means? That by Krishna, one who has understood this, what If you're called, if you're calling ourselves a sadhaka, then we should know that only by Krishna consciousness is one really established in intelligence, number one, and that one should practice this under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. Then we become suitable candidate for liberation. Now, this is also very important. Under the guidance of bona fide spiritual master, always it has to be Guru Sadhu Shastra. The other thing that I keep repeating, because sometimes we become go into too much guruism. The idea is not to do guruism. The idea is to do Guru Sadhu Shastra. Okay, so there's a question here. When we are suffering due to ill health or unfavorable circumstances, then we cannot concentrate on our chanting and other services, although we are doing chanting and offering food to deity, but that is mechanical because mind is agitated and wants to get out of suffering. How to overcome that? Yeah, yes, so that's what I'm saying. We have to give up this. Okay, so a few things, right? Important question. First is acceptance of our situation. Unfortunately, like I said, we somehow hope and desire for a better material situation, which is natural, but which may not be possible. So whenever we are faced with a difficult situation, the first thing that we have to do is accept our situation. If we don't accept, then we keep fighting our situation. And which is why I said, what do we mean by accept? Accept means that this is Krishna's mercy. This is what Krishna thinks is the best path for me to make progress. Of course, again, before asking that question, the question is, are we really surrendered? Do we want to, what does surrender mean? Okay, do I want to become a pure devotee in this life, come what may? That's a question that we need to answer, right? Do we want to become a pure devotee in this life? Because Prabhupada said that we can go back to Godhead, achieve Krishna Prema in this life. Of course, there's a price to be paid. It's not going to come easy. So the first question is, do we really want that? Do we really want that? If the answer is yes, then what is the next question? Next question is, how do I go about that? Sharanagati, complete surrender. What is the basis for surrender? Is complete faith that Krishna will take care. Rakshishati Vishwaso Goptrute Varnam Tata. He's going to take care. He's protecting me. Then that means what? That means the situation that I am faced with is Krishna's mercy, because he's protecting me. So that means what? That we should accept the situation that we are in. Okay, now we cannot generalize this. In the sense, sometimes we might have to take action also, which is based on Anukulisa Sankalpa Pratikulisa Varjanam, but three dharma considerations are there. And when we are in that position and we are faced with situations, we simply humbly accept our situation. Which is mainly for, so there are different devotees here having different kinds of problems. So I'm very wary of my answer, because it might be understood wrongly by, based on individual context. So I'm trying to clarify. So okay, let me do it this way, right? For Prabhu's, as in Krishna, Prabhupada has said multiple times also, if there's too much of disturbance, family is absolutely not supportive, then male can give up his family. Okay. Meaning complete opposition, like not able to follow, etc. Now, when it comes to Sri Dharma, obviously the first important thing is Sri Dharma, mainly because in this material world, somewhat that is why for women it is generally recommended that they marry and that get initiated, because marriage ideally should happen with people who are supportive Krishna consciousness. Now, if that happens, then that makes things a lot more easier. But if that doesn't happen, then Sri Dharma says that there is no question of giving up our husband. Of course, in extreme situations, when Guru has to say that, okay, fine, your situation, I'm telling you. But normally that doesn't happen. I mean, very rare cases. So after that, it is just said that, lady has to just become extremely just surrendered and accept and wait for Krishna's mercy. Tatte anukampa susumikshamano. So in those situations, so point I'm making, in some situations we might have to take some actions. In some situations we might not have to take action. We might just have to accept. It's not that we blindly accept everything, because in some cases we also have to be practical in this world. So all these difficult situations, is not our own individual decision. It is guidance. It is instruction by Guru primarily. I mean, I follow that in my life. I mean, any major decisions to be taken, I just write to my Guru Maharaj directly, because then we can just close our eyes and do whatever he says. Yes, prasadat Bhagavad prasad. So acceptance of a situation which is inevitable. For example, if there's a health problem, there's nothing anybody can really do apart from just trying to take some medicine, right? And medicine will work, not work, we have no idea. So we just take it, and we accept the situation, saying that, okay, I mean, I've experienced this in my life. Medicines taking, no change, go on, and then our own agitated mind, we says, okay, try this doctor, try that doctor. All that I've done in my life, and I realized saying that, okay, it's not going to go because time has not come. So simply accept and just accept, and I mean, whatever suffering is there, just accept it and say that, okay, time has not come for it to go, and go on with our services. So our mind is agitated only when we think that there's something possible for us to be done. And after we've tried that and nothing is changing, then we have to just become peaceful. This example is given in Bhagavatam also, that, one prostitute who is waiting for, some customers, and then she waits and waits and waits and waits and waits. And every onlooker, passerby, she hopes, oh, this is going to be my client, this is going to be my client. But late in the night, nobody comes, and then she just develops detachment. Detached, saying about her own situation. So like this, actually, when we're suffering more and more, we should just become detached, saying that, what can I do? I mean, there's really nothing that I can do. I've tried whatever is practically possible, humanly possible. And that's it. And what is the difference between a devotee and a non-devotee? A non-devotee will over and over, that he'll go crazy, that his consciousness becomes filled with that problem. So he moves from being Krishna conscious to problem conscious. A devotee should not do that. A devotee should understand, saying that, okay, if I am surrendered, if I've initiated, I've taken shelter of my Guru, I've done Atma Samarpan, I've surrendered to Krishna, I will leave it to them. If they want to show mercy, they will show. Otherwise, I will suffer till then. Right? Accept the situation, and when we accept the situation, half of our agitation just goes, because this is realistic, right? But in this material world, what people think is, given a problem, we have to really fight it out. But that cannot be the mood of devotees, because we know that it's all under Krishna's control. So what we should do is, we should simply accept that situation. Like I said, there is also what type of situation, whether we should act, whether we should accept, there is a distinction to be made. But we accept, and when we have to accept, we accept, and then after that, we just say, okay, if this has to happen, whenever it's going to change, it's going to change. Let me just continue to do my services as well as possible. That's it. So key is acceptance. Key is acceptance, because I've seen this. I mean, I fought for many years. I fought, the whole thought of not being able to be healthy, and just so used to disturb me a lot. And then, of course, I mean, long way. It's taken me a long time, but it still helps to just understand that, okay, I just accept. And today mind will agree, tomorrow again morning it will get up and rebel. So then we again remind ourselves, saying that, okay, I just accept my situation. I just accept my situation, and pacify the mind. And then we can engage much more easily in our day, and it won't feel so heavy. You won't feel so heavy. If you don't accept, it's like a real burden. I mean, we can't take it for long also. If you don't accept, it result in further complications, right? I mean, we become more depressed, we become more frustrated. All this is not required. And another thing, I at least, I mean, I tell devotees, when it is going above our head, right? When we feel like we are going underwater, please write to Guru. Please write to your Guru, right? Because see, if there is something that we need to do, then we don't have the right to take that decision. Guru Maharaj will take the decision. So if we are feeling like we are going underwater, we have to write to Guru Maharaj, and his guidance will be the light in our life, and we just follow. Then again, we don't have responsibility of that situation, in the sense, we are just free, like a small child. Whatever parents are doing, it's doing. He's saying it's doing. Is that okay? I mean, I know it's not very easy to address these so pinpointedly, but some things that I've experienced, or I can share. Anybody else wants to add anything to that question? You can please add.